Money management. It's interesting. I was speaking to somebody in the last few weeks, I think it was last week, and they were talking to me about what they heard is important, what one of the, I guess, investment advisors somewhere else was saying is important that investors need to do before they can start to create a portfolio. And one of them was to create a mission statement. And I think it is important to have some sort of statement whereby you identify what you want your money to do for you. Now, for me and my clients, it's usually done through a conversation. I know a lot of advisors out there, they may put together this fancy statement, maybe a few pages in length, put it in put some glossy cover on top, and they charge for putting this together. Well, I think that's silly. I don't think, number one, you should charge for something like that. I think overall, this should be a conversation that an investment advisor should have with all of their investors. And yes, you should have notes in your files, and so you can refer to them when you go back to your client and you want to make recommendations. Obviously, note taking is key. But I guess in knowing your client is most important, and creating documents just so they look fancy and so someone perhaps looks good is not what I'm all about, and not what investment advisors should be about. And in my opinion, two things stand out when you talk to an investment advisor, when you want to interview one to see if you should take on their services. And those two things are knowledge and experience. There are no substitute for knowledge and experience. Does the investment advisor follow the markets? Do they have their finger on the pulse of the markets? That's knowledge. And experience. What did they do when things were tough in the past? Did they run and hide? Did they have a plan of action? Did they have a strategy? That to me, or those two things to me, are two of the most important things you should ask an investment advisor. And looking at a graph that we have here can illustrate that. The first one, the S&P 500, we have a chart, and you can see here during 2002, 2003, markets really pulled back, and again pulled back in 2008 and the start of 2009. The market hit its low point in March. What did your investment advisor do at that time? I think that's a great question to ask. What is their strategy? And I think it's important to know and what is their strategy. And again, this is where the experience part comes in. We've all seen, well, many of us have seen corrections, but how many of us have lived through the dot-com bubble bursting, the financial crisis? Last year, 2022, fourth worst year for the S&P 500 on record. And why was that? Well, that was because interest rates were rising at a very rapid pace. So living through those times, I think, gives you experience that cannot be measured. These are things that have helped individual investment advisors get through times in the past, and experience will help them get through times in the future. I have a second chart here talking about tech stocks versus yield. And this is where the knowledge comes in, understanding that as yields seem to go higher, the 10-year government bond rate seems to go higher, the NASDAQ 100 slumps. So the top 100, mostly technology companies, they actually pull back when yields move higher. And this is the knowledge part, knowing that this relationship exists, knowing the relationship between interest-sensitive stocks and higher interest rates. That is knowledge, and that comes about by learning, by watching, by listening to others, and obviously comes from experience as well. So to me, I wanted to talk today or bring up the point of money management, because to me, more important than anything, more important than having some mission statement or something given to you, a plan that is written up and looks so nice, it's talking to your advisor. It's talking to your client if you're the advisor. It's understanding what the needs of your client are, understanding their risk levels, understanding their investment objectives. There's no substitute for having a conversation. And of course, at the Alan Small Financial Group, we have these conversations on a daily basis. So going forward, for any of you that are interviewing someone, perhaps to be an investment advisor down the road, knowledge and experience. There's no substitute for either of them.